Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2022-23 season, and the robot is back for game week 10. We're going with another AI team that I want to show you guys today. I know previously you guys have actually laughed at the robots team. You've laughed and you've said that team is terrible, no way that's scoring points. But let me show you this, guys. In game week 1 when I made this video, this team scored 78 points where the average was 57. In game week 8, this team scored 79 points when the average was 50. And in game week 9, just last week, this team scored 103 points when the average was 68. So consistently, the robot is doing it. And you guys can laugh as much as you like. You can say the robot is crazy. But at a certain point, I feel like we have to kind of admit that maybe that the artificial intelligence has caught up with human beings in terms of playing FPL. That's kind of what it seems like right now, guys. And what makes things even better is that these teams aren't just for one game week. They aren't just for just this exact little period of time. They're teams that kind of suggest what our team should look like roughly for the next period of 4, 5, 6 game weeks as well. So by looking at these teams, we can kind of say, okay, maybe I want my team to look more like that. So it's not just for wildcarders, it's for when you're making transfers. If there's a couple of players in there in the algorithm team that look good, you can kind of take a few of those players and maybe try and implement them into your own team and look at their predicted scores and things like that. So if you have any faith in the robot, if your faith is growing with the robot, please do leave a like and do subscribe if you want to see more content like this. And let me know actually if you want me to make more AI videos, because I've done them the last couple of game weeks and I think you guys have enjoyed them, but if not just to laugh at them, but actually to be amazed by them. But anyway, guys, let's get on with it. Let's look at the team that the artificial intelligence has come up with this game week. So yeah, once again, this has been provided by Fantasy Football Hub's My Team tool. That is the artificial intelligence that we've been using for these videos. If you want to go check them out, the link is at the top of the description. Let's get on with it. So first of all, in goal, we have got Guaita. He's a goalkeeper that I think a lot of us have been talking about, and I think he's one of the more sensible players in this team before we get to players that are kind of a little bit more out there. But Guaita has got a really, really decent run of fixtures all the way through to the kind of World Cup break, if you like. So I do feel like at 4.5 million, he's actually probably the optimal goalkeeper to go for, and the artificial intelligence agrees with some decent predicted points. 4.1 predicted points this game week, 3.6 the next, 4.2 in the following weeks, 3.7. I think he could actually do even better than that in some of these fixtures, like that Everton game, for example. Maybe a clean sheet for Crystal Palace there. Into defence, we've got Trent Alexander-Arnold, who seems to be an absolute favourite of the AI. I know he hasn't really been performing that well, and he probably doesn't seem to like good value for money, but I would say that if you own Trent right now, artificial intelligence kind of seems to think you should keep him. I know the next couple of games are kind of a little bit stinky, but after that, West Ham, Nottingham Forest, they've got a few good fixtures after that. Maybe it's worth keeping Trent for that slightly longer period of time and seeing how well he does. Like, if the artificial intelligence is backing it, then maybe we should trust it a little bit more. I don't know. Maybe some disagreements there. Next up, Reece James. So he's got some very good fixtures. You know, you look at some of these fixtures, Wolves, Aston Villa, Brentford. But what was really interesting to me is when I looked at kind of the predicted points, 5.7 predicted points against Manchester United. So that's actually the second best predicted score over the next 4 game weeks for Reece James. So maybe there's kind of points on offer there. Some of these other games, you know, Wolves, Aston Villa, we're actually kind of expecting clean sheets from Chelsea as well. And you never know with James whenever he can bang in a nice goal or an assist or something like that. I've actually doubled up in the Chelsea defence with Thiago Silva. Similar fixtures, same fixtures. It's looking pretty good again for clean sheets, particularly with Thiago Silva. You'd hope that a nailed player like him is going to start every game, and we're going to get those clean sheet points and maybe the occasional like assist or goal from the corners. You know, he's a bit of a set piece threat, isn't he? He's always dangerous and winning those headers from those set pieces, so that could be pretty good as well. And finally, we have got Mark Gay here, and I feel like this is kind of a player that a lot of the kind of FPL experts, if you like, the top tier FPL managers are going for Gay at the moment, because again, we're looking at Crystal Palace defence. We actually doubled up in the Crystal Palace defence, the same as the Chelsea defence, and this is kind of what we're seeing consistently with the AI. When I've kind of been looking at these AI teams, the AI teams likes to go all in on certain defenses. It likes to go all in, and similarly with attack, to be fair, but it likes to go all in, put all of their chips in one, or all of the eggs in one basket. Chips in one basket? Can you put chips in a basket? I'm sure you can, but I'm not sure you would want to. Anyway, yeah, some decent predicted points for some good fixtures from Mark Gahey. He's only 4.3 million as well, so really real bargain price there, and you can get some decent returns from him as well. He's actually going to be rotated with one of the players on the bench who we'll get to very, very shortly. Into midfield, we've got Heung-min Son, another algorithm favourite. Son always seems to make an appearance. His hat-trick was predicted by the algorithm a couple of game weeks ago, which was absolutely mad. We've got some reasonably nice fixtures. That Everton game, 8 predicted points, looks pretty decent as well. So, you know, maybe we can get something there. Even the Newcastle fixture, I know the Spurs fixtures are kind of mid, but Sonny is predicted very high points among these games. Next up, Zaha, so 5.9 predicted points. Again, Zaha and Crystal Palace players in general, I think we're all kind of having a little bit of a look at the moment, see if we can target them. Now they've got much better fixtures moving forward, and a couple of decent players, a couple of decent cheap picks as well. So Zaha is top of a lot of people's shopping list, and the algorithm agrees. So Zaha, if you are already kind of thinking about getting in Zaha, I think maybe this confirms it for you, that he is the guy to go for. Now, the third midfielder kind of surprised me a little bit because it's actually gone for Marcus Rashford for that next midfielder. And I kind of thought, well, I feel like I kind of want Martinelli in this slot, probably. But on the other hand, we have got a situation where Martinelli obviously blanks in a couple of game weeks' time. So therefore, he's not really optimum if you're going for him for a slightly longer period of time. So if you already have Martinelli, I think, of course, you keep him. But if you're going completely fresh, you can have any players you like, then maybe actually Rashford is kind of a preferred option. I don't know. So it would seem. Everton, good predicted points. Newcastle, good predicted points. And then slightly lower scores predicted against Tottenham and Chelsea after that. Moving up front, no surprise, Erling Haaland. So despite the fact that he has got that blank in game week 12, he's the only player from Man City and Arsenal in this algorithm team. Again, like I say, it is taking into consideration the next several game weeks, which is kind of weighted, and therefore certain players who completely blank are obviously going to be omitted. But Haaland, because he's got such a high predicted points in this game week, 10.6 predicted points, which is wild, which is ludicrous. It's such a high predicted score. He really is kind of essential, really, to go for. You know, no matter if you have him or not, even if you don't have him right now, I would still transfer him in despite the blank. You've just got to have him in your team, and the algorithm seems to agree with that one, which I thought was just kind of interesting. I thought maybe it would try and do something a little bit different here, but I think it's the captaincy that matters the most in this particular occasion, I guess. Next up, we've got Harry Kane, another player who is sometimes favoured by the algorithm, sometimes not, but he is kind of a reasonably popular player. The algorithm does like these kind of premium players, and it likes to go cheap elsewhere. It likes to go for a few premium players, which is not really a way I want to play FPL personally, but I mean, who am I to argue at this point, to be fair? So yeah, Harry Kane, some decent predictive points against Everton. He's obviously going to be a decent option in game weeks, 12 against Manchester United. Maybe he's a captaincy option there as well, potentially. So yeah, decent pick. And finally, we've got Dominic Solanke, who I actually, last week I was like, yeah, I'm not really thinking about Dominic Solanke right now. I think now that we've got that Brentford fixture out the way, the fixtures do look a little bit better now. So we have got Leicester, we have got Fulham, we have got Southampton. These are some much kinder fixtures, so maybe that could work in Solanke's favour. And he is just so cheap that, you know, you don't have to expect too much. If he gets a goal every other game week for you for that price, then I think you're probably pretty happy with that, particularly if we're talking about bonus points potentially there as well. So yeah, overall, Solanke, I think he's a decent pick. I applaud the algorithm for its bravery in going for someone like that, who is, again, a little bit of a differential. And there's a few players in here that are all under 5% owned. Guaita, Gehi, Solanke. I know Thiago Silva is fairly low owned as well. So there's a decent amount of differentials. Zaha, I think, among active player base, his ownership is not terribly high. So yeah, really kind of interesting to see some players that are a little bit different in this team, even if they are kind of players we were thinking about anyway. I wonder if this week's algorithm team really serves to kind of verify kind of our pre-existing opinions and assumptions of who the best players were to go for, and throws them on screen for us. Let's bring up the bench, guys. We've got Ward, obviously a playing cheap goalkeeper, which is always helpful. We've got Decordova-Reid. Bobby Decordova-Reid, not a player I expected to see in this algorithm team at all. That's probably the biggest surprise of the video, and I would say that he's the player that all of you guys will look at and say, no way, that's crazy, that's not happening. Yeah, just no chance at all. On the other hand, it's probably going to be a case where it absolutely nails it. It gets it absolutely bang on right. Once again, of course, Decordova-Reid has a 4.9 predicted points in game week 11 where they play Bournemouth. So maybe he's going to be the man to get a decent score in that game, possibly. I don't know. It seems a bit wild, but I mean, his underlying stats are actually okay. Fulham have proven that they can score goals and they could create chances. So Why not? I guess with Mitrovic injured, maybe that's the player to go for. And by the way, Mitrovic is looking like he's going to be out for game week 10, unfortunately, and possibly back in game week 11. We're not 100% sure yet. I guess we'll have to wait for the next week's press conference, but he's a serious doubt for this game week. So maybe even Deco David Reed could provide something in that game. He can be a fairly attacking player when he wants to be, I suppose. Nico Williams on there as well, just for that, again, cheap defender who can actually score points, and Colback as well, who is just a cheap player to keep the price down of this AI team, which is has a team value of 100.4 million, which I'm sure most of you guys can afford. 100% team rating, which is interesting. You know, it's always good to see these 100% team ratings, but what's more interesting is how highly this team is rated on each specific game week, whereas it's kind of this team, without having to change anything before even making transfers, it's almost the perfect team to have every game week for the next few. Let me show you what I mean. So in game week 10, it's got a game week rating of 90%, which is pretty high. 70.2 predicted points for this team in game week 10. Let's see if it can live up to that. Erling Haaland is the optimal player to own, the highest predicted points of any player in FPL, 10.6 points. So he's obviously going to be your captain for this game week. Let's move on to game week 11. Heung-min Son is the best player this week, 8 predicted points, 100% game week rating for this game week, which is interesting, with 63.2 predicted points. Game week 12, 100% rating again, 59.6 predicted points. Now, this one is a little bit of a more difficult game week. I think in general, the predicted points for everyone is going to be a little bit lower because of that lack of Man City, because of that lack of Arsenal. These two teams that have been scoring super, super high in terms of their FPL assets. We don't have any access to those players. So it's actually going to be Mohamed Salah with 7.7 points, who is the highest predicted points. Salah isn't actually in this AI team, but maybe the Son to Salah move could work. Maybe a De Bruyne to Salah move. If you still trust Salah, that is. But he is predicted very high points. I wonder if those kind of predictions are off the basis of previous seasons and previous data, because that is all taken into consideration when trying to predict these points. Can he find his form again? Quite possibly. And game week 13, 100% game week rating again, 63.3 predicted points. Mohamed Salah, once again, the best player with 8.4 predicted points, which is pretty nice for them, really. So yeah, overall, there we go. That's your predicted points over the next few game weeks. And each of those scores, you know, you'd be very, very happy if you scored any of those scores over the next, in the next 4 game weeks. So yeah, like I said, captaincy is on Haaland. Vice captaincy is actually going to go on either Zaha or Reece James. They're both predicted 5.9 points, so they're both second best in this team, I suppose. I guess we put it on Zaha because he's the attacking player. You back the attacker potentially there, but it doesn't really matter because Haaland is going to be by far and away the captain to go for, isn't he? And there we have it, guys. That is the team. I can't wait to hear some of your reactions to this. If you did enjoy this video, please do leave a like. Please do subscribe if you're new around here as well. As I say, I would love to hear what your thoughts are on this algorithm team, because I know every single time I post one of these, people are scathing. They say the algorithm is crazy. It doesn't know what it's talking about. And every time it proves them wrong, which I'm finding absolutely crazy, and I'm really enjoying this. So I dare you guys once again to call the algorithm out and tell it where it's gone wrong, and let's see if you can beat the algorithm finally. Surely one of you's got to do it at some point or another. But there we go, guys. That's it for content for game week 10, aside from the deadline stream tomorrow. If you haven't watched some of the other videos I've made this week, please do go check them out. My team selection, the 100 experts video, buy, sell, keep, avoid, the tier list video, and the strategy stream as well, which I thought was pretty good actually this week, the strategy stream. I think you're going to enjoy that one. But yeah, that's it from me today. I'll see you tomorrow for the deadline stream, and I'll see you later, mates. Bye-bye.